Hi, Kapil. Uh, in your book, I recently read Direct Truth and Atmaman, and you talked about no mind at various places. So my question is that the state of no mind that you discuss, is this to be reached by a human bit by bit, do you think, or is it an instant?
Hello? I can't hear anyone.
I wanted to ask if abstinence is a real thing. Does it even work? Or is it like an anti-pattern?
Dr. Kapil. Thank you. I have a fairly loose grasp of reality that some days it's clear, some days it's not clear, and I'm not quite sure how to ground truth with these changing tides all the time. So open to any words. Thank you.
I have problems, and I hear other people tell me the self is the cause of your problems, and then over years I hear a lot of things like that. I form beliefs around those things, and I think of them as like ideas, and I play with them, and I kind of struggle to implement it, and then nothing really changes. But it's obvious to me that a total change upon.
So what have you learned from that? From what you just said, just stop right there. What have you learned from what you just said? Not that you should have learned anything or not learned anything. Have you learned anything from that?
I think if I did learn something, I would have changed. So I don't think so. Like,
So how does that affect you moving forward?
I really don't know. I it I think a standard thing I do a lot is think about these things as an ideal that I am not meeting, and then I feel sad and beat myself up about it. But I think that's just not.
And so where do you think that comes from?
I can't I can't see where it comes from, but it happens. If I just would, if I really don't know.
Then what is the point of that happening if you're not going to learn anything from it?
Well, I see dogs chasing their own tail. I figure I'm doing something similar. I don't know.
Yeah, the dog is you, but who's the dog master?
Well, something.
Who's the dog master?
I I don't know. I mean, I
The dog master is your conditioning. The dog master is your conditioning and brainwashing with regard to exactly what the first words you said, that you have a problem and people tell you it's because of X, Y, and Z, and then you attempt to implement X, Y, and Z, and even though you implement X, Y, and Z, nothing changes. It is your conditioning in the belief in that concept, in the belief in that construct, that is your dog master.
so all of the things I'm doing are because of something that happened to me in the past.
All of the things that you're doing are things that you're doing in response to what you've been told, and not just the content of what you've been told, but the very belief in the fact that doing a bunch of stuff will get you out of the problems.
Well, I can reason that if I didn't think doing the stuff was useful, then I wouldn't do it naturally.
Well, if it was useful, then you wouldn't be continuing to have one problem after the other.
Why is it that when I hear you,
Well, if it was useful, you're the one who said that you implemented the X, Y, and Z, but nothing changed. So how is it useful?
I I guess it's not useful.
And why do you need to guess? I'm not saying that you should say one thing or the other. I'm going based solely upon what you yourself said and your own experiences. Is this the first time that you've heard or been given an XYZ to do?
No.
Okay. And so the X, Y's, and Z's that you've done all your life, aside from a purely mechanical process, have the X, Y, and Z's solved your problem?
No.
So then why do you have to guess? And you don't have to take it on my word. I'm not telling you anything. I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm not trying to ask you to stop believing that and believe something else instead. I'm just holding a mirror up to your face and demonstrating what you yourself has experienced. See, your predicament is everyone's predicament. Every human being you will ever meet, every human being that you see on TV, every human being that you hear on the radio, every human being in the world is suffering from your very same predicament. They are diseased and infected with the same virus that you are infected with. And it is not your fault and it is not their fault. It is a conditioning and a brainwashing by living in society, living in the world, listening to people, reading books, watching media, listening to lectures and experts and blah, blah, blah. And all of these things are a part of your bones now. So whenever you have a problem, you will look for what X, Y, and Z, what practice, what behavior, what jumping jack can I do that will solve my problem? And you won't stop tomorrow. You are a robot, and you have been wound up like a toy soldier by society. And even the next 772,000 XYZs are not going to work, yet you will still continue them because you have been automatized, you have been programmed to look in that direction because that's all you know. And the content creators and the authors and the experts and the thought leaders and the influencers will come up with a new 10 best book list tomorrow, and they will come up with a new practice that you can do tomorrow, and pinch your nose and drink green juice while singing Kumbaya, standing on your left foot and bouncing a ball on your right finger, right? And if you do that 12 times a day and do an ice bath at night and take 1.5 vitamins of this and 2.5 of those, and while you're doing it, you do mindfulness and meditation, and when you leave your house, you're stoic, and if you do all these things, then you will solve your problem, whatever that problem is. And you will say, yes, sir. Like a good little toy soldier, you will follow the influencer, you will listen to the hack, you will follow the practice, you will do it all. You're all in. You're hooked.
Immediately.
Good evening. So I've been thinking for some time the question that I wanted to ask, and over my life I realized that I've taken sometimes years doing things where I would feel they were natural, that they would just, this is what I must do, whether it's in the wilderness, climbing, biking, or in business, technology. But I've found that even things I've done for years, I come to a point of uncertainty in various things where I wonder, are the things I'm doing really true? Are they things that I actually want to pursue? Or is it a form of time pass? And so my question is this: is it possible that I am devoid of any sincere desire?
Dr. Kapil, thanks for hosting this. Question is rather simple. How do you differentiate between love, attachment, and the ego?
Hi, my question is this. My emotional connection with my wife is declining steadily. We are married for 8 years now, but my emotional connection with the kids, I have two young kids, is growing very strongly. How do I balance both of these?
In the concept of drum.
Usually my instinct that's ended up helping me get the best outcome that I wanted. But I'm finding it hard mm, to trust my instinct going forward because I keep questioning my actions. So I don't know. My question is, how do I trust my instinct?
Hello, Kapil. Thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it. I emailed you a couple of times, and I know you haven't seen it, but really don't even know why I hopped on here. But it still amazes me that people ask how to do things. But anyways, my question is that I see a lot of fake and phony things on Twitter, and everybody's telling you how to do things, and all these gurus. And my question is, how do you get out of this? How do you get out of like not how, but it's like, why is it that so many people are trying to speak to you? I just don't get it. I'm trying to tell you what to do. I'm sorry, not sure if that's a question, but that's all I have to say. Lately, I hear a lot of voices in my head and a lot of random stories, and I'm either the victim in this story or the hero. And when I'm when I am the hero, I feel like I am satisfying somebody else, not me. And also sometimes when I write, I feel like I'm writing to somebody else, not me. And that kills me. And I want to know, is that a mind thing? Is that a DNA because I heard you many times? Or I read some of your work and you talk about DNA, and I want to know. Thanks.
Hi, it's not a question for Mr. Kapil. It's an appeal to everyone on this spaces. If you are looking for answers on our Twitter space,
My question is, there are moments and instances I can totally see mind playing games, but why is it still not default to me?
Because you're not serious.
Kapil, I'm I'm absolutely convinced that I have understood intellectually certain truths. What I believe to be maybe the most critical of truths about this life, this existence, my place in it. But it's absolutely clear to me that my actions day after day, week after week, my actions clearly show that I have not understood or internalized viscerally these truths at all, like not one bit. And I know for certain that if I had, my actions would be entirely different. It makes me angry, and I think more so disappointed to have this like invaluable knowledge and then to willfully waste it as if I have any time at all to waste. And I ask of myself, like, why am I not serious? And I have found honest answers from that. So my question is, am I asking the right question of myself? Thank you.
Well, no one is serious. It's like I always say, you might find one or three or five on the planet who are truly serious. Everyone's
Yeah,
brainwashed. The brainwashing is too deep. It doesn't matter what you understand intellectually. Now that might help because if you don't know it at all, then there's no chance at all. Um, but like you said, you've examined and it's only an intellectual understanding, and like that's fine. There's no judgment here. But you could extrapolate that question to why is no one serious? No one's serious. Everyone's just a window shopper. Everyone's kind of, wake up, brush their teeth, do whatever they do, go to sleep.
I'm not that though. I'm not that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the details are. It's irrelevant what the content is. It it isn't. If you don't do that, then you're better. That's good. No, it doesn't matter what you do. The seriousness is a extraordinarily rare thing, and I am continually shocked as to why I have the number of people who, for whatever inexplicable reason, happen to read my work because there shouldn't be. There should be, you know, about 98.9% less because it's not, it requires seriousness. I'm not going to cater to the masses. I, I, I have no interest in the masses. The masses are like filler paper. They're just filler. So no one is serious. And it's kind of like saying, well, how come I'm not a legend? Well, no one's a legend. Who's a legend? Even the people that you see on TV, how many of them are legends? Not legends. They're just professionals. So if you look at every walk of life, if you look at every field, every discipline, every craft, every profession, from business to sport to art to whatever it may be, everyone's just a commoner. And it isn't because they don't have like they couldn't be not uncommon. Sure, it's possible, but everyone sort of lives in the same mold. They listen to the same things. They're they're just too busy doing nonsense and thinking nonsense. And the virus, the number of viruses that they've been affected with by society, like all the antibiotics in the world couldn't cure that. It doesn't. No one is serious. No one is truly great, and that is not the result of lack of capacity. That isn't a result of, in the professional world, lack of talent. It's every There are many things that I will say that I will go to the grave with, many things I'll never even reveal. But even the things that I'll reveal, it's almost as if I never revealed them because you won't understand. And I could say tree, apple, car, and you will understand tree, apple, car. But what lies behind that of what I'm truly saying, it might take you 475 years. And after 475 years, you might say, oh, so that's what you meant. Yeah. And how foolish I was to think that it was just tree, just apple, and just car. But I'm not going to dumb it down either. Though. I'm not gonna dumb it down so that you'll get it sooner. Like I don't have any interest in that. Me dumbing it down isn't going to let you get it sooner anyways. Um, so truth. The great things in life, the greatest things in life, require someone to reach. They're not a handout. In order for me to come down, I'm not up to begin with. but I'm not going to come down to dumb it down. So the people who are willing to reach and reach so much that their arm comes out of their socket, no, that's no one. Like, that's insane. So this knock against yourself, I'm not serious. You have to put it into context and understand. And I'm not saying it's okay because others aren't serious either. I'm not saying that. I'm not using any comparisons trying to make you feel better or feel. It's it's you have to understand that you saying that you're not serious is you probably wouldn't say it in the same. You would probably wouldn't be as exasperated or surprised if you were to say, "I'm not a legend." But I'm not serious seems like it should be more attainable. No one is serious. Everyone's a commoner. They think common thoughts. They do common things. They do their little socialization and ha ha he get together with their friends, read a bunch of books about stoicism and talk nonsense at their cocktail parties and so how smart they are because they're intellectuals or they do their yoga mats or they whatever the hell they do. But everyone in this world is lost roaming around in the soup of confabulated and manufactured concepts. And they live their lives trying to live up to those concepts. And they do this and they do that and they believe in this and they don't think like that and they eat this and they do that and practice this and be mindful and XYZ and ABC. That's just the they have the number of carrots that are dangling in front of them since the day they were born are endless, and they live their lives chasing those carrots. And that's conditioning, that's brainwashing, and there has never in their life been another option. And when there's no other option, when there's nothing opposite to what they've ever been told, when that is all they have seen, all they have thought, all they have read, all they have heard, on every street corner, in every room, in every minute of their lives, it would be unrealistic and impractical and fantastical to expect them not to be brainwashed.
Hello, Kapil. Thanks for having me. I hope you can hear me well. My question is, I was reading some of your works from, I believe, a few years ago, and you mentioned Babaji, Miyamoto Musashi, Confucius, Cheng Tzu, Lao Tzu, and when I read some of their
I
quotes,
never mentioned all those people, I don't believe. I would be very shocked if I did. I mentioned Musashi. I think the rest of them maybe you brought on your own.
well, I believe it says, because unless the people around him are Jesus Christ, the Buddha, Gandhi, Lao Tzu, Cheng Tzu, Confucius, Babaji, the words and the opinions that he imbibes will be at once limited and gloriously flawed. You were making a
Oh, there
point.
you. Yeah, no, that's fine. There you have it. You have stated that I did say that, so that's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess you were making a point about the rarity of some of these kinds of individuals, um, like, the masters and things like that. Um, and when I read some of their quotes, I did feel like they were communicating some of the same truths that you have communicated. And my question is, whether reading the quotes from some of these great masters of the past can be, whether their truths can be communicated and understood, so, in the way that I could understand your quotes and your writings.
Well, I don't know. I'm no expert on those people, and uh, now that you read the sentence, it makes sense to me because I had to populate the sentence with a number of names that were known to those who read, spirituality and Zen and stuff like that. So yes, those names served a purpose because the point was that an individual, if he's not going to be going very deep into something, as people like that apparently ostensibly have, like Buddha certainly. But some of those things are to make the sentence come alive, right? So I mean, I didn't go talk about any of those people, but they do serve a purpose in that sentence, so that makes sense to me. But the point there is, isn't that what they said? Because the most impressive one out of all those is Buddha, right? And what Buddha said is irrelevant. It, I won't call it nonsense, but it might as well be, because like there's no reason to write a book called or the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. That doesn't do anything. As soon as you prescribe something, these are the four things, these are the eight things. It's 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 fantasy to think that that is going to do anything. I mean, and in Buddha's saving grace actually is that as the story goes, I wasn't there, but as the story goes, when he achieved enlightenment, the things that he found, he wanted to keep to himself, which was wise, which is what he should have done. His instincts were correct. Because he said, I could explain these things to people, but no one's going to get this. It's too much. It's too deep. No one's going to understand this. And as the story goes, Brahma came to him and said, no, you have gained great wisdom, and you definitely, I implore you to go share your insights with the world. And therefore he did. Where did that get to? It didn't get anywhere. They created a religion in his name, Buddhism. What was that do? Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. So the point of that sentence isn't that you should follow the words of those people. The point of that sentence, I mean, it isn't even that you should follow I have nothing for you to follow. What are you going to follow? I have nothing for you to follow. You can manufacture something, and you can prescriptionize my words, but I'm nothing I can do about that. I mean, I just state things as they are, and there's no interest. I have no interest in that you should believe it. One should examine things through his own experiences. Uh, look for himself. You don't be dependent upon me or anybody else. The idea of this idol worship and this putting people on pedestals and doing what they say, it's all nonsense. Nobody. It makes no sense to follow anybody. If something is written that you find to be true and you have verified it in your own experience, then that perhaps has an effect upon you. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
What do you feel when you stop chasing things? Do you still feel pleasure?
This question came up during one of your responses a couple questions ago, but if a person who has grown up in society is everything they know and are taught to chase, a person who's grown up in society is already filtered and secondhand in a sense, as you've said. What actually are the great things in life? Like a person can easily never even.
So what do you mean by if?
Well, no, by if I mean it's the case. Like it's something I've seen for myself that is the case. So I'm asking about myself.
Okay, so what's your question?
So what are the great things in life aside from these vague descriptions that spirituality or just societal appearances would suggest? What like?
Well, I mean, for me, listing those great things, it's not going to do anything. It'll be a bunch of words. I can say this and that, and that's great, and this is great. So what? I mean, it isn't about you are falling prey to the exact same thing that you said that you have seen through.
Mhm.
So instead of following that, now you're asking me what things so that you can write them down and think in your head, oh, that's a good thing, that's a great thing. Like what's that going to do?
Hello, Kapil. I want to become a screenwriter. So I want to have great ideas, but in your
is create illusions. Is there a way to share the experience of truth with?
What do you mean by if?
Well, I guess I do believe that mostly words tend to create more illusions around whatever we experience. But my question is there truly a way to share the experience of truth with others using words and our medium of language?
Truth, truth is truth. Truth isn't an experience.
Yes, what is
Such quick responses, you heard nothing.
Things, I found that I have a lot of fears, and while doing a lot of things, I just try to keep amending with these fears, like from kicking a ball, taking a penalty, or like in every facet of life, I find myself like just filling these holes within myself, and these these have led to failures after failures, and still I'm not able to see what is the reason behind this fear. Or
Does conquering or overcoming the mind have any value when finding?
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much for having me. So I've really gravitated towards your work, and this was a few years ago, and it definitely changed my life. And in what of the truth I was able to understand. Obviously there's much more I need to understand. And one thing I've been so gravitated towards your work, and I know you've talked a lot about intellectualism and intellectuals, and a lot of that resonates with me when I see people, in universities, and people having these kind of frivolous conversations and kind of looking for social status. But when you think of the who are considered, the great philosophers and thinkers and such, do you think it's worth pursuing some of their texts and looking for
Well,
those?
have you read those? Have you read those things?
I have read some of those things.
Okay, and what did they do for you?
Your work was a lot more. Um,
No, I'm not comparing anything. I mean, what you asked about the philosophers of the past, and so what did those works do
um,
for you?
I was able to. There were some truths and some concepts and things that did have some effect. But I did find a lot of things were kind of jumbled and difficult to understand. And sometimes I wonder if they weren't being as direct, or maybe just the text is from a previous era. There's different modes of speeches. It was definitely, I mean, not to compare, but that's just, you're from the same, historical era, and you speak in a way that is a lot more direct. Um, and so I don't know if that answers what you were asking.
Well, if you get something from it, I mean, you're asking if you should read those people, and that was I mean, simple answer. If you get something from it, then why wouldn't you? And if you don't, then why would you?
Mm, fair enough. Thank you. I'm just, I'm younger, and part of me feels, and I do get some things that it's just kind of a chase, to find something, and then part of me thinks, just sees the resonance they've had.
Well,
And
why are you reading anything to begin with?
um, because I believe, I believe that there are people that have understood things that I don't, or am not even aware of, the concept of, and perhaps I might discover that in reading.
Okay, and then what sort of things are you looking to discover? I mean, what kind of help, so-called help, are you looking for?
Um, that's a difficult question. I really, even what's pulled me to your, I guess, pulled me to your work is and just all these, I guess what you might call, what a layperson or anyone might just call it a deeper or more resonant things is I've just always kind of felt a sense of just kind of knowing, just living in society that no one seems to really know anything, not in a just that there's no one before finding you, and certain other people, like some of the people I read and whatnot. It seems like there's just it's devoid of wisdom, and it just kind of and I just I feel like I know there are people out there that know things that I just have a longing to know
And
things.
how old are
I'm
you?
25.
Well, it's true. I mean, what you have found, I mean, society, I don't need to verify this. It's true. I mean, what you experience in your social circle and in the environment, in society, in the world, where you are, wherever country you're in, whatever school you're in, it doesn't matter. It's all the same, just different languages. It's just nonsense in a different language. That's all it is. So everyone's basically talking nonsense. And that nonsense is what has been tape recorded and played and replayed into their ear for all their life. And so they're, in the way that it was put on the loop into their ear, they speak on it as a verbal loop to others. So, and even then the intellectuals then come along and they think they're smart. So, and they're, what they consider intelligence is memorizing a bunch of words and concepts like stoicism and talking about other people's words and bragging about how many books they've read so that they can intellectualize and talk about these words that they've had no real experience with, just the words. So that's what's going on. And so, yes, if you really want to learn something, you're not going to learn it from lectures and uh, influencers and hack givers and all these things. Um, you are going to have to find it on your own. So that is true. Now, the what you have to understand people. You have to understand why those things that were written were even written. Everything is basically written in order to get across a message. Everything is basically written in order to get you to do something, or to think a certain way, or to believe something, or it's all proselytization. And it doesn't matter how ancient it is, it's all the same. So it if you read someone, who's a person who's enlightened or whatever it may be from centuries ago, he might say, like, one is all and all is one. Okay, fine. What are you gonna do with that? Okay. I mean, the intellectual will put that in his pocket and he'll walk around and say, one is all is one. Because he's a parrot and a memorizer. That's all he is. He doesn't have anything of his own. He's a book reader, right? It's all he is. He's a content imbiber. But what are you going to do with that? So the things that are written, you have to understand, are for the masses. So you have to understand that. If you don't understand that, then you'll fall prey. You have to understand that all of these things were written for the lowest common denominator. So they've been dumbed down, and the ones that are not been dumbed down are you're not going to understand. And then you're going to think that you understand by repeating the words, and you're not going to get anything. So it isn't like everything preaches, even the ancient texts. It all preaches. Do this, be kind and compassionate. Buddhism's, meditate on loving kindness, and it's just all this drivel. right? That sounds wonderful, and you can applaud the Dalai Lama, and you can bow, and all. It's just a bunch of crap. That's all it is. Right? It's just cosmetics. If you really want to get somewhere in this life, you have to know truth. And in order to know the truth, you have to have the DNA to truly want to know the truth. If you're the DNA of a scientist or an intellectual, you're finished. The truth is not for you. It's not for because truth cannot be grown in a test tube, and truth isn't written in an influencer book, right? It isn't a stoic type. It's not nonsense. And but the truth is so bitter. The truth is so harsh. And the reason it's harsh and bitter isn't because it's harsh and bitter. It's because everything that you've been taught is sweet nonsense. So you have a sweet tooth for nonsense, and then the truth comes along and say, well, oh, that's a bunch of crap, and it's this over here, and that goes against not only everything that you've ever heard, but it actually turns all philosophies, all your goodness and badnesses and your kindnesses and your propernesses and your mindfulnesses, it throws them in the garbage and it calls them out. And a human being finds it very difficult to bear the weight of that. It's too heavy. It's too much. Therefore, they seek a soothing balm of spirituality. Have your nice little meditation and you practice your little loving kindness and you do this and that and burn your incense and think positive thoughts and become stoic and that's all just that's just Ben Gay. Right? So if you're looking for the truth when you read those ancient texts, I'm not saying that there's no truth in those ancient texts. I'm not saying that because there is. But that isn't the intent. The intent of anything being written down, otherwise it wouldn't be written down. The intent of anything being written down is to get a message across. And the more that message is written in order to get the maximum amount of people in the world to read it and to learn it, and all for good intention. There's no ill intention. But like Buddhism, practice loving kindness for all sentient beings. It's nonsense because if you're not anywhere yet, why are you practicing for other people when you're nobody? You're nothing. You've achieved nothing. It's just let me let me let me have a go at giving this lecture now as the assistant. It's all nonsense. So you have to understand that when you read a book, what was the intent? And universally, across everything, the intent is always to reach the masses. The intent is always to get across a message. The intent is always for you to think and change and improve and better yourself and loving kindness all over the place and love, love, love and this and that and kumbaya and it's all just incense. It's all it is. So you're not going to find books that speak just raw truth. It doesn't exist because the person writing that book has too much interest in the masses to write raw truth. He has to dumb it down because he doesn't want one person to get it in the entire world. That isn't, otherwise, he wouldn't write the book. But that very intent to reach the most people also destroys the validity and the power and the integrity of what is being said. It is dilution. So for me, I'm not better and I'm not this and I'm not that. I just happen to have an interest, which is in truth, a devoted, lifelong interest in. I just happen to, and I'm not good because of that. So when I write a book, I get annoyed when they get a lot of sales. I I don't want people buying my books. I put them out there. I wrote it. I liked writing it. So I wrote it, and that's it. I put it out there. But that's just because I like writing the raw, direct truth. I enjoy it because that's what I like. But I have no interest in people getting it and changing anyone or having anyone do anything or change anything. So the intent isn't there. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just isn't there. The intent isn't there to get you to do something. So I don't want the as many humans as possible reading my books. They shouldn't be. It's a waste of their time and money.
Hi, Kapil. I'm Santiago. So my question is, so why is the reason that you publish the book so people can read it? Why is the reason? Why, if not, you write it for yourself? Why you show it to the world?
There's a lot of things I don't show to the world, and I never will. It's the same reason why am I here. I wrote it. I'm here.
Hello, Kapil. How to know whether we are ready for the truth?
Hi, Kapil sir. Thank you for taking my question. I've been listening to you for some years now, and I've realized that when you're in the moment or you've experienced the moment or truth in general, it's something that is very unstable. Like whenever you're exposed to anything in the world, it sort of becomes an act of the ego. Not to say that it's anything that's wrong, but is there anything in the world that you can be devoted to which can also be truthful?
Hello, Kapil sir. Thank you for accepting my request. My question is, as days pass by, my desire to share all the good tips that I learned or goodness is reducing, and I want to keep all the good things that I learn as a secret, and I'm feeling guilty about it. So, like, how do I? Is this right? I know it. I don't know how to put the question. It makes me feel guilty. That's my issue. So, is this
Well, that's because you withheld it by force.
right?
Right? I didn't ask you to withhold it.
Right.
Just because I withhold things doesn't mean that you or anybody else should. It's not a recommendation. And that's just another example of people prescriptionizing my words. I never ask anyone to do this or that or change their behavior or this would be more healthy for you or this would be better for you or like I have no recommendations. I have no tips. I have no what you should or shouldn't do. To me, the human must examine him or herself.
Right. Thank you so much.
0% of the people will actually benefit from the message that you give or actually change or transform from the message that you give. Then why do it? Is seriousness something that's innate?
Well, I don't. Are you one of the 0%?
So if I believe it that it's possible.
I don't understand your response.
Um, okay, I believe so.
So then, why do you care why I do it or don't do it?
Hmm.
Why do you even why do you even watch them? Why don't you go watch other people who tell you whatever to do whatever?
Thanks, Kapil, for your work. It's deeply influenced me. The question I have is the path to seeking the truth lonely?
Hello, Kapil. My question is asking about objectivity of truth is intellectualism, or like what is the boundary between a exploration of truth versus intellectualism?
Why are you afraid of being an intellectual?
Like, I mean, there is times when you are just doing intellectualism and you are actually not getting anywhere, as you
Well,
said.
is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Is that what you're doing?
Not right now.
So you seem to be asking a question because you seem to want to avoid intellectualism, but then that isn't really a question.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't really have a question, just something I wanted to say. I've been following your work for a long time, and it has transformed me so much. It took years. I still don't feel like I am where I need to be, but has definitely it's been something. Your solo podcasts are definitely amazing, to say the least. So thank you. Uh, uh, to me, you're like Buddha.
Thank you.